You'll recall 2 years ago when South Africa went into the first COVID-19 lockdown, the Solidarity Fund was established to help gather some of the money, especially contributions from the private sector and private donors, to help the country deal with what was then a pandemic situation. Well, in the last 24 hours, President Cyril Ramaphosa has confirmed that the fund will now be roped in to assist with the response to the disaster unfolding in KwaZulu-Natal. So far, 443 people are known to have been killed, and the damage to infrastructure and personal property is estimated in the billions of rands. Let's talk about the Solidarity Fund's role then. We're joined by Gloria Serobe, Chairperson of the fund. A very good afternoon to you, ma'am. Welcome to Daytime Update. So has the ball started rolling from your end as far as what you are now tasked with doing?
Yes, thanks, Chambegile, because this was announced last night. So the first thing we did today, 7 a.m., we started the ball rolling. Because what you have here is a fund which was in a state of one down. That's what we announced in March, and put it in a dormant state. We did say also that we're anticipating that it could be remobilized rapidly and effectively should another overwhelming national crisis occur. What we didn't know is that it would happen sooner. We did think that something like 10 years or something would be when we would have to remobilize the fund, but it is what it is now. We do have another national disaster, and that is why the board met on Saturday, an emergency board meeting, which approved that we can agree to the request of government to augment their work. And so we've started today, this morning already.
And you talk about augmenting the work of government in this relief and response phase. What exactly will you be doing?
Remember that with a national disaster, the government leads. It was the same thing with COVID. It was the same thing with the unrest. And this is our third program in terms of dealing with the floods. So the leader of the program is government. As a fund, ours is to make sure that those things that can be done rapidly and with agility to augment that work of government is actually done. The benefit we have is that we are outside of government, we are independent, we work very closely with government, we work very closely with the business, so we can respond with speed. I need to emphasize this, Tembekile, speed doesn't mean no governance. And this is what we have been able to prove as a fund, that speed also means you can also be quite fast in terms of governance, and don't skip approval processes. Make sure the board is on board, the audit committee is on board, the disbursement committee is on board, the fundraising committee is on board. We've managed to do that. And so I think the pressure then on us to be able to do so was that the meetings of the board happen quite frequently, like weekly, and so is the EXCO, and so is the subcommittees. Because you do not want to delay the action, but you also don't want to have an excuse in terms of that I did skip the governance processes because the board was going to meet in 3 months' time from now. And so that's what I mean about that. We have been able to do that and augment that work of government and do those things that where we are agile and flexible and rapid and in terms of making it work for them.
And you received a lot of praise, Mr. Robe, for the due diligence in the handling of the COVID-19 monies which the Solidarity Fund was dealing with. I'm going back, I suppose, to an extent to the issue of the mandate of the fund and the issue of due diligence, specifically who you will be paying out monies to directly and how the process for checking who qualifies for what will work from your end.
So I think the big part of this afternoon we're going to spend on the scoping of the work that needs to be done by us. At this point, our understanding is that government has got 3 phases. There's a short-term phase, which is the crisis now. People are displaced, shelters, they are everywhere. They need water, they need food, they need everything. Anyone who's been taken out of their house needs help of that nature. Then you have the medium-term issues, which is, for example, those people who are in shelters now, there is an attempt to get them into permanent homes. That would be your medium-term kind of thing. And then you've got the long-term issues. Roads have been destroyed, bridges have been destroyed, water pipelines have been destroyed, all sorts of things. It was quite heavy. That is now the long-term part. When I'm saying the long-term, I'm not saying that government doesn't switch on the process now. I'm saying long-term because it takes longer. Mm-hmm. The role of the fund at this point would be, as we see it, would be in this first part, where you are dealing with the crisis, the immediate needs of the communities. So this scoping, we will be doing it with the government together to make sure that we have the same kind of information. And as to who gets paid what, it's a bit far now, Tembekile, because once we understand that scoping, then we know who we're dealing with. We have the benefit as a fund of having partnered with people in the last 2.5 years. For example, if the floods and the disaster is quite severe in the rural areas, for example, your traditional leaders are the ones who know most about what's going on there. And so between the traditional leaders and COPTA, you'll find that we'll partner to service that part of the country, O Cetshwayo, O King Cetshwayo, O Mzinyati, O Ugu, those places where it's difficult to access services. We have tended to work, for example, with the traditional leaders. We have worked with some NGOs on certain matters, for example, on the food crisis delivery, food parcels, food vouchers. So we will tap onto that. Actually, that is probably what government had in mind when they approached us, that we have learnings here, we have education, we have partners, we've got relationships that we can just pull back and make use of them to actually do the delivery.
Correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am. Initially, during the COVID-19 phase, in your involvement, you dealt mainly with private donations to assist the country's effort then. Now that there's government money involved, how does that change your mandate?
Even in COVID, the government money was involved. Remember, they gave us a seed capital of 150 million rand. So it will not be the first time that government put seed capital into this. What government has done for us is to we're not subject to the PFMA exercise, that's a government process. We are somehow in between. We can do things quickly, while at the same time we comply quite strongly. And so that is why our own governance processes have got to be very rigorous and robust, because we have to report back. So it makes no difference today if the bulk of the money comes from government. It's the same kind of reporting system that we had with COVID and that we had with the riots. Remember, for the riots, government gave 400 million rands for the riot activity. So it will not be the first time that we have government seed capital with us.
And quick final one, Ms. Serobe, do you have a date in mind for when you may be able to start disbursing the funds?
So I guess we'll do the scoping today, and then we should have follow-up conversations, Tembekile. You know that we're quite keen to share with the public as to where exactly we are, but the scoping of the work today is going to be done today and tomorrow, and the bank account is going to be open today, hopefully this afternoon. That's another thing. As part of that governance, we have separated all the accounts. The COVID money, the donors that they gave us, did not go to solve the riots issue. We had a separate account for the riots. We're now going to have a separate account for the floods, and so that if people donate to the floods, they don't find their money going to fix vaccinations somewhere or dealing with the remnants of the unrest that we had. So in terms of the implementation, those are the things we have switched on for now, that there will be a bank account today, and tomorrow and today we're doing the scoping of the work, and we don't have the luxury of time. Immediately that is done, then we have to start implementing.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Gloria Serobe, Chairperson of the Solidarity Fund. Good to have your time.